Hi, everyone. My name is Justine Froelker. I have a tiny dog on my lap who is not feeling very well today, and that's how a work-from-home entrepreneur does it. It has been a while since I went live, and I just did a video in my Happy Habit challenge, and I was like, well, the lights are on, the camera's on, and I might as well do a teach because I also was asked to do a teach. So I have taught on this before. It's been a long time. I never taught on it in this way, obviously, but I actually had, I had one of my friends and someone who participated in my Happy Habit challenge. She sent me a quote and she goes, I'm sure you've taught on this before, and I already feel like I know what you're going to say, but have you ever heard of something like this? And so then she sent me this quote that she had heard. She goes, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but the quote that she sent me was, how tempting to get ahead of it. Assume the worst. That way, the world won't let you down. That way, the ones you love won't wound you because you've already wounded yourself. And there's no blood left to bleed. And I was like, oh, that's so good. That is such a good way to put it. That is such a good way to put it. So, so I called this assuming, hiding, armoring, perfecting. Basically, anything that we do to armor ourselves up, to shield our hearts, to hide our true selves, to not show up as all of who we are, flaws and all. And the saddest part about all of us doing this, and we all do it, but the saddest part about those of us who armor up and walk through this world not showing up as our true selves, standing in our sacred truth, is that the people we do it the most in front of are the ones who love us the most. We aren't showing up the most in front of the people who love us the most. The people who are supposed to be our safe landing spots. Those are the people we're armoring up against the most. Those are the people we perfect and project our crap onto. Those are the people that we assume things about, that we hide our stuff from, that we assume the worst about and don't let them in because then they can't let us down because we've already wounded ourselves. We don't dare let anyone else in to wound us. We first wound ourselves by armoring up. In the very first curriculum that I did with Brene, she talks about, one of her concepts that she talks about is foreboding joy. So foreboding joy is basically like when you assume the worst. And I definitely have done a therapy Thursday on this before, but like, are you one of those people that always assumes the worst? Because it's how you prep. It's how you prepare. It's how you make sure you don't get hurt. It's how you make sure you're not caught off guard. You assume the worst about everything and everyone. And what we have found, what Brene has found in her data, is that that doesn't prep you for the disaster. Because newsflash, life is messy and people are complicated. Stop being surprised and knocked down by that. More than that, stop armoring up against it and damning everyone and everything before you even let them in preparation for the hurt. Because you're already harming yourself by armoring up. Foreboding joy, what Brene found in the data was that when we asked people who have gone through trauma and tragedy, if any of that worry and that foreboding of the good stuff, that if any of that prepping for the worst case scenario, if it worked, if it helped them thrive through tragedy, and no one ever says yes. Their only response is that all it did was steal my present. And when you armor up, when you assume the worst about people, when you bleed yourself out so there's no blood left, like that quote, the only person, no, it's not the only person. The person you're hurting the most is yourself, because you're also you're not serving the world your spirit and your love. And the people who love you, you're not showing them you. And that's the saddest part of it. People will hurt us. The people who love you most will hurt you the most. I don't give two craps what Joe Schmo says about me on the street. I kind of don't even really care about that bad Amazon review. I don't know that person. They don't know me. It hurts when someone I love and care about criticizes me or doesn't support my work. That hurts. What would hurt more is if I wouldn't share it with my world, if I wouldn't let them in. Vulnerability means you will get hurt. Being in relationship means you are vulnerable. To be alive is to be vulnerable, as she says. So like when Kate sent me that quote, I was like, man, that's a good way to put it. And that's another way to put foreboding joy. When we people please, caretake, perfect, assume, hide, armor up, busy, blame, all of it. When we do that, we trick ourselves into actually believing that we can do this by ourselves and that it's better. But we harm ourselves more because we're not letting anybody in. And then on top of that, when you armor up, that will not stop you from writing stories. You're still going to write stories. All those people that you're assuming the worst about, all those people that you're not letting in because they're going to hurt you first, you armor up against them, and then you still write a story about them. You pretend to be able to read their mind about how they think and feel about you. You take their perceptions of your story and take it as your truth. So you armor up, which only sucks you more dry, and then you write stories about it. And we wonder why we feel so alone and disconnected and miserable. And of course, I tried to figure out like a Bible verse to go with this, and it wasn't very easy to find. I mean, newsflash, when you like Google Bible verse and vulnerability and courage and stuff like that, it's not really kind of in the definition that we do in this work, but I make it work. So what came up was 2 Timothy 1:7. So 2 Timothy 1:7, it's a pretty famous verse. I'm in the Passion Translation. For God will never give you the spirit of fear, but the Holy Spirit, who gives you mighty power, love, and self-control. For God will never give you the spirit of fear. When you armor up, when you push people away, when you won't let them in because you know for sure they're going to screw you over, you are living in a spirit of fear. And no matter what your beliefs are, that is not what you were created to be. And I assure you, it was not what you were put on earth to do. We were put on earth to love ourselves and love others, to figure out what we love, to go out and do it and serve the world and leave it a little bit better off than when we came. You cannot do that when you're pushing people away, armoring up, perfecting, foreboding joy. You do that when you grab your brave, stand in your sacred truth, and love others in your human mess and all. Theirs too. I don't know if that made sense. I hadn't taught for a while, so I kind of felt like it and just decided to go for it. We have lots of things happening. I got some new Bible plans coming out. New book is launching. I'm writing a new book. I have a big announcement coming later this week about the next program that a lot of people have been asking for. So just make sure to keep an eye out and watch here. You can always join the Happy Habit 66-day program on self-care and the 777 Happy Challenge, 7 days for 7 minutes for $7. We're running it 3 times during the holidays, and we start again on November 12th. So I will post those links in the comments below. So thanks for watching, and make it a great night.